question for people in other countries. Do you want to visit us anymore?
My recommendation is to 100% boycott this country. Do not spend any money here. Do not plan any travels here. Show them that the world does not need the United States, because they don't.
It's only $250. The fee will be added to US tourist visas starting in July 2025. However, its consequences are silently spreading across the United States like an oil slick. International tourists are turning away. Cities that depend on tourism have lost their main source of livelihood. The restaurant is closed. Employees are losing their jobs. The cultural center lacks a multinational voice. This is no longer just about a visa application. This is the story of how a seemingly small policy can strangle an entire $0.9 trillion tourism industry. And in this video, you'll see 10 American cities that once thrived on tourism are slowly dying because of just $250. The question is your city on this list, or will it be the next name? A small note that the content in the video is compiled by us from reputable sources and does not attack any individuals or organizations. With the desire to create a space for sharing and discussion, let's start with the first city. Tucson, Arizona, where the desert and the sun once drew hundreds of thousands of foreign visitors each year. Now you can drive through the entire tourist center without having to wait at red lights. In just a short period of time, the number of international visitors decreased by 32%. Nearly 40% of local travel businesses had to temporarily suspend operations or reduce staff. It might sound like just a less lively tourist season, but for a city that relies on foreign tourists, that number feels like a bottomless pit. The reason is quite straightforward. US tourist visas now come with a new fee, $250. For many visitors from South America, this number is not just inconvenient, but a real barrier. A local guide shared I used to have over 100 international bookings every month. Now it's completely booked. The guests only have the neighboring state's people left. Ironically, the policy called the integrity fee, roughly translated as an honor fee, is forcing many cities to lower service standards because they no longer have enough customers to maintain them. Honor remains, but guests are lost. The desert, once bustling with the sounds of vehicles and laughter, is now only swept by the wind across the sand. The small hotels on the outskirts of town have empty rooms, and the innkeepers are folding up the yellowed advertisements. Have you ever experienced a desert tour in Tucson? The last time you visited, is it still as vibrant as you remember? Or is everything now just in old photos? And Tucson is just the starting point. The next city on the list, a place once chosen for the 2026 World Cup, is now worried because foreign visitors are no longer coming. Can you guess where that is? Spokane was once the lush green jewel of Washington state, a destination for international tourists seeking relaxation skiing and autumn pine forest views. But this summer, the mountains are still there, the sky is still blue, and the doors are closed. In the summer of 2025, the number of J-1 visa holders in Spokane decreased by as much as 40%. The international students who used to come here for summer jobs are now almost non-existent. What are the consequences? Over 60% of small resorts in the region report a significant shortage of staff, from housekeeping and kitchen staff to even receptionists. And when there's a shortage of staff and service quality declines, tourists won't be very enthusiastic about a self-service vacation either. International visitor arrivals to Spokane decreased by nearly 35%, according to the latest report from the city's tourism association. A small rope broke, and the entire local tourist wheel came to a halt. If there's no one to welcome you, no one will come. What caused Spokane, a place seemingly safe with domestic tourists, to fall into a labor crisis? The answer is again a familiar number: 50. For many international students and seasonal workers, the new visa fees make working in the US during the summer an unviable opportunity. A resort owner shared, "We used to hire over 30 international students every summer. No, not a single application was approved. I folded the blankets myself, cleaned the room, and even worked at the front desk." A summer with the resort owner, who also does the cleaning. Because there's no one left to turn on the lights, boil water, or carry luggage. This isn't just about a staff shortage, but the system was blocked from the very beginning. There was a lack of manpower, services were reduced, and then tourists skipped Spokane and chose other places. No one wants to pay $200 a night for a resort, just to make their own bed right. A resort without a front desk staff, just like a hospital without nurses. The equipment is still there, the air is still fresh, but the feeling, it lacks life. If you've ever been to Spokane, would you want to go back when everything is understaffed, lacking services, and even lacking laughter? If you had to pull your suitcase up the hill yourself, would you still feel like a resort guest? And the irony is that towns like Spokane aren't on the international promotion list. They live by word of mouth, by the summers filled with people and many foreign voices. But when the voice disappears, will we be able to hear their distress signals? The next city, once a cultural and musical icon of America. Now the jazz band has fallen silent, and the summer festival was cancelled without fanfare. You've strolled among the street bands there before. Where are they now? New Orleans was once the vibrant heart of American culture. Jazz was born here. Creole cuisine, French architecture, street parades. All reasons why millions of international tourists visit each year. But now you can walk through the heart of the French Quarter without hearing a single live song. And if there is, then it's very likely that the musician is talking to themselves. Ticket sales for international festivals like the French Quarter Fest and Congo Square Jazz Day are down by as much as 42%. International visitor numbers decreased by 35% just a short time after the visa integrity fee was implemented. The number of street performances with foreign audiences has nearly halved according to a survey by the Louisiana Association of Performing Arts. Domestic American tourists are still coming, that's right. But for a city that thrives on ethnic diversity, the absence of international tourists is like losing half its soul. And the remarkable thing is, this isn't because New Orleans is losing its character, and that's because the cost of getting here has exceeded the acceptable threshold for many international tourists. A jazz artist shared, "Back then we had to split our performance time because there were so many musicians and so many audience members. Now even if you want to play, there's no one left to stand with you." It seems that when visa policies become too strict, the joy is no longer inclusive. And you know what? A portion of the city's budget revenue comes from service taxes, accommodation, dining and events. But if no one is sleeping, eating or attending events anymore, where does the budget come from? It's not just the music that disappears, but it's the lifeblood of hundreds of freelance artists, service staff and tour drivers. And it's slowly drying up. New Orleans is like a trumpet that no one plays anymore. It's still a beautiful instrument, but silent and sad. Have you ever been to New Orleans? What do you miss the most? The spicy jambalaya, or an impromptu night of music on the sidewalk? If you go back again, can you still hear the old trumpet? New Orleans has lost what made it unique, not because of hurricanes or epidemics, but because of policies that have left those who love the city with no way to enter. And the next city on the list doubled these surprises, because they not only risk losing customers, but also the opportunity to reach the world, even during the biggest event on the planet, the 2026 World Cup. Where do you think that is? Kansas City is preparing to welcome the world to the biggest sporting event on the planet. The stadium was upgraded, new hotels were built, and infrastructure was adjusted to prepare for a historic World Cup. But there was one thing the city didn't anticipate: international visitors are no longer keen on the United States. According to preliminary data from Visit KC, revenue losses for the World Cup season are projected to reach $220 million from international visitors. Organizers reported that tour registrations from South America and Africa were 47% lower than expected. The 50% increase in the B2 visa fee caused the group of fans from countries not included in the visa waiver program to drop out early. You can't throw a global party if guests from all over can't buy tickets to get in. And in this case, the ticket is a visa. A person in charge of the promotional plan shared, "We had planned promotions for football fans in Brazil, Argentina, Nigeria, South Korea, but now we have to postpone them." Many tour companies in those countries have stopped selling travel packages. They say customers don't want to pay extra fees. Instead of counting down to the football festival, Kansas City is counting down the risk of losing revenue. Ironically, the city invested hundreds of millions of dollars to improve its international image. But a federal policy, not originating in Kansas, is hindering international visitors from coming here. In that grandly prepared picture, the small visa fee became a crack in the foundation. A lit stage, without an audience, is just an empty box echoing with sound. If you've ever watched an emotional football match, imagine this. What if only half the stands were filled and foreign fans couldn't attend? In your opinion, can a World Cup be considered global if the whole world isn't properly invited? Kansas City is not a traditional tourist city, but the World Cup is a rare opportunity for the world to get to know it. The question is, when international tourists don't come, will it become quiet again, like before? And while Kansas is worried about the upcoming event, the next city on the list was once an international tourist icon for decades, but now that very icon is crumbling. If there's any place that has ever defined the brilliance of American tourism, it's Miami, where the sun never sets and Spanish flows as naturally as English. But this summer, that beauty was left behind. Within just 3 months of the new visa fee being implemented, the number of international visitors from Latin American countries, which are Miami's main source of tourists, has decreased by nearly 40%. And that slide isn't just on the statistical chart, it's most evident on the empty tables in South Beach in the dimmer light of restaurants that were once fully booked every night. Revenue in the service sector, particularly restaurants and hotels, fell by 20 to 35% depending on the region. For many facilities, this is a bottoming out after years of post-pandemic recovery. Some 5-star resorts once famous for welcoming guests in multiple languages are now quietly starting to cut back on their translation teams and international staff. It's not that I don't want to serve, it's that there's no one left to serve. No need for statistics. Just step out onto the beach at 3 p.m. and you'll see clearly. Miami is changing. No longer are there groups of tourists from Colombia, Venezuela, Brazil, taking photos, laughing and booking restaurant tables at 9 p.m. Instead, there was a suffocating stillness. A restaurant owner shared, "Previously 90% of my customers were foreigners. Now only a few locals come on weekends, and they don't order wine or dessert." A 50 visa fee might not seem like much to the federal budget, but for coastal restaurants, it's the difference between being booked solid for the week and keeping the grill off all afternoon. Orlando, the city of the American family dream of eager children holding tickets of grandparents tearfully watching their grandchildren laugh for the first time in a fairy tale park. However, this summer that smile was somewhat quiet. The park is still open. The music still echoes. But one thing is gradually disappearing: the vibrancy of the crowds. The proportion of J-1 visa employees, meaning international students who come to work seasonally, has decreased by as much as 50% in Orlando. The reason is quite understandable. Because the visa application fee increased by $250, many exchange programs from Europe and Asia completely withdrew from their summer 2025 plans. And when there aren't enough staff working in the game areas, hotels, restaurants, etc., what are the consequences? Services have been cut. Attractions must limit their operating hours. Some shows had to be cancelled. It all happened right during the peak tourist season. Something rarely seen in the United States before. A roller coaster operator at Disneyland shared, "I have to work extra shifts every day because of staff shortages. Some days I stood from morning until almost midnight, and still they couldn't serve all the customers in time. In a place designed for everything to run like magic. Now humans have to strain to keep the dream from derailing." Orlando was once a symbol of the perfection of American tourism, clean, fun-friendly, and flawless. But now, even things that seem simple like hot churros or characters walking through the crowd have become luxuries because there's no one to make them. A roller coaster with empty seats is no longer a game. It's like an entertainment icon, slowing down in silence. Have you ever taken your children or grandchildren to Orlando? If you came back now, could you feel the difference in the atmosphere? Do small things, like the absence of a guide or a welcoming smile, make the dream less dazzling? Orlando might still be lit up, but behind those lights is a machine running short-staffed and lacking warmth from all over the world. And if Orlando, a place built to always have people, is also losing visitors, what is the next city which never sleeps, which welcomes millions of tourists each year, experiencing, let's move on to the next city on the list, New York. New York, the city that never sleeps, a place where anyone has dreamed of going at least once, and yet something very strange happened recently. Saturday night in Manhattan is quiet for tour groups. It's not because the season is over. It's not because of the blizzard, and because people can't enter the US as easily as before. According to statistics from NYC and Company, the city's tourism promotion agency, the number of international visitors from countries not participating in the visa waiver program decreased by nearly 38% in the second quarter of this year, especially the group of guests from Asia and South America, those who often choose New York as their first destination upon setting foot on American soil. They didn't disappear because they lost interest, but because the visa costs alone ate up almost the entire travel budget. A tour guide shared, "Previously, I led 2 to 3 Chinatown tours every day. Now, if we can get a group large enough to go during the week, we'll be happy." With New York, each group of international tourists is not just about plane tickets and hotels. They are dinner in Little Italy. It's a bag from Soho. It's a photo taken under the Statue of Liberty, and a few souvenirs brought back. Losing them, the city not only loses money, but also the international acclaim that once came so naturally. Notably, as the number of international visitors decreased, the budget for global tourism promotion was also cut. A vicious cycle, fewer customers, less budget, and even fewer customers over time. And the city that was once the gateway to America is now gradually closing itself off to the very world that helped it become prominent. New York is still lit up today, but it's the light of a stage with a sparse audience. And perhaps, what keeps this city alive isn't just the LED lights, but the unfamiliar eyes of first-time visitors to America. Have you ever been to New York? If so, do you remember the feeling of stepping out of Grand Central Station for the first time, hearing all sorts of strange languages intermingling? In your opinion, what will this city be like if that part continues to dwindle? New York can withstand a lot. Storms, crises, instability. But can it continue to be a global city when the world is no longer stepping into it as before? And if the city that never sleeps starts to feel tired, the next city will surprise you. A place that was once a symbol of the world's entertainment industry. Now Hollywood Boulevard is devoid of tour groups, and you can take photos with the word Hollywood without waiting for anyone to pass by. Los Angeles, the city of lights, movies, and dreams written through the lens of a camera. There was a time when just stepping foot here made you feel like the world was unfolding before your eyes. Studio tours, international tour groups, the constant flashing of cameras on the Walk of Fame. And yet lately, something is changing. Be quieter, more discreet. The number of international visitors to Los Angeles from non-visa waiver countries decreased by over 41% in just 3 months since the $250 visa fee took effect. Tour companies in Hollywood are reporting a cancellation rate increase of up to 37%, particularly from the Asian market, where tourists often travel in large groups. Some small film studios have even temporarily suspended their studio tour programs because no one is booking them anymore. Los Angeles isn't just losing tourists and losing international dreams. International film students, who serve as both trainees and long-term customers, are now facing difficulties in obtaining visas due to rising costs. Some film academies are reporting a nearly 20% decrease in applications from abroad. When young people can't go to school, who will be the next generation to write global stories on screen? Hollywood still has stars, but they no longer have the eager footsteps of those seeking fame. And if the cameras are still set up, but no one is coming to film, then we're talking about an industry waiting for the lights to come back on. Have you ever been to Hollywood? What does it feel like to see a place that was only in movies for the first time? Now, if you went back and saw it empty, what would you think? Los Angeles, the city that creates the image of America for the entire world, is now struggling because the world is hesitant to enter. But if you think Hollywood is the only global icon fading away, look to the next city, where the symbol of technology innovation and global culture is faltering due to a lack of tourist students and international vitality. Let's go to San Francisco. San Francisco, the city of technology startups and the intersection of Asian, European, American cultures flowing like waves on the bay. But in recent months, that wave seems to be receding, and the rest is empty rows of desks in classrooms, hastily closed Chinese shops, and brightly lit houses that no one enters. The F1 student visa and J1 exchange visa rates from Asian countries, particularly China, South Korea, and Vietnam, have significantly decreased since the additional $250 visa fee was implemented. According to data from Bay Area universities, the number of new international students enrolling in 2025 is down by as much as 22%, particularly in technology, engineering, and creative design fields. Meanwhile, Chinatown, once bustling with tourists and the international community, has seen nearly 30% of independent restaurants close or temporarily suspend operations since May. A city built on global connections is now losing its rhythm. It's not because of a lack of potential, but because of the absence of the international people who once breathed life into this place. Not only the tourism industry, but also the technology industry is feeling the void. Many small companies had to postpone their international summer internship programs, which are a source of innovative human resources. When young talent from abroad no longer arrives, new ideas also gradually become scarce in the boardroom. Have you ever been to San Francisco in the 80s or 90s when Chinatown was still lit up every night? Or were you the first person to step into the tech industry in Silicon Valley? If so, would you recognize this city again? San Francisco, where technology thrives and culture blossoms, is quietly living at a slower pace than usual. And that doesn't appear on the tourist map, and in the hearts of the people who once built this city. But if San Francisco, a tech hub that has struggled with visa fees, is facing difficulties, what is the city at the bottom of the list, a place that was once a symbol of inclusive tourism and opposed the new policy experiencing? You'll be surprised, because it's not Las Vegas, not Los Angeles, but it's a place no one would expect: Chicago. Chicago, the city of architecture, jazz, a lakefront as vast as the sea, and endless vibrant summers. It was also the first city to publicly oppose the integrity fee visa policy when it was first announced. But ironically, after a few months of implementation, Chicago is now among the hardest hit groups. Data from the Illinois Restaurant and Lodging Association shows that bookings from international guests have decreased by as much as 44% compared to the same period last year. Architectural tours, a Chicago specialty, saw a nearly 50% drop in foreign visitors in just 2 summer months. And most notably, a series of summer cultural exchange programs had to be cancelled because foreign partners were unable to bring students due to the high cost of visas. For Chicago, losing international tourists is not just about losing money, but rather it's the loss of connection, the very soul of a city built by immigrants and sustained by the presence of the entire world. Chicago was once at the forefront of criticizing the new visa fee, arguing that it set back the tourism industry and eroded the image of the United States. And now, that very city is living proof of what they warned about. It's not because they're wrong, but because they saw it coming. Have you ever listened to jazz music on a street corner in Chicago? Do you still remember the taste of deep dish pizza you ate with friends from many countries? If you were to return today, perhaps you would see the space is still the same, but the atmosphere is different. From Tucson to Chicago, from desert to city, a small fee has left very large gaps. It's not just an economic issue, but the connection is weakening, is identity fading, and they are stories that were never told because the storyteller didn't arrive. So what should we, the people who live here, do about that? A $250 visa fee, not a large amount for the federal budget, but for local communities, it's the disappearance of shared meals, multilingual laughter, and colorful summers. Tourism is not just an economic sector, it's the heartbeat of exchange. It's how we see ourselves through the eyes of others. Have you ever lived in these cities? Have you seen them bustling and lively and then gradually quiet down? What do you think will happen if international travel continues to be absent and we don't adjust? Please share your thoughts or stories in the comments section below. We read every line. If you're interested in stories about a changing America, told with an honest, insightful, and humanistic perspective, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. All information presented is based on public reports, press data, and community sharing. We encourage the audience to verify and offer their own perspectives based on personal experience. All perspectives are analytical, reflecting social life, and do not represent any specific political viewpoint or fixed orientation. Thank you for joining me on this journey. See you in the next video.